Hey, we're back. This is John.
It's Paul.
And it's Eric.
And it's What If Geeks, and we're all back together again. Yay.
Hey.
Yeah. It's a Muppet Show.
It was rough being without Eric last time because
oh my God.
We got the episodes out of order. We were like, what happens next? Then I think it's this. No, it was that. Oh, right. I forgot. Yep.
Eric, I had like literally 15 minutes of one episode written down on a set list, and go back and watch that one and laugh about how quickly we're like, how the fuck do we do this without Eric? And we said, I said, look, this is gonna suck because I only have part of a set list, and Eric didn't. You know, he's busy, so he can't be here, and he normally does this shit. And I looked at Paul and I was like, you know, for the two guys that started this goddamn thing, we're kind of lost without Eric. And he laughed and he goes, it is funny how much we rely on him because he makes this look so easy. So you do. So there you go.
Well, thanks, guys.
In front of all three of our fans, we will sing your praises. We love you and we missed you last week. And we purposely held off on this episode.
This one.
Yeah.
Said,
I asked. Yeah. And fuck now, I want to talk about episode 6 too, but I'll keep it at bay.
Oh my God, yeah, I know.
We know you wanted to talk this one because it's chock full of Boba Fett and all the scenes. So yeah.
All right. So since Paul and I could barely hold our spoiler glee last week when we were talking about this shit, we're just gonna start with spoiler alert for every goddamn thing.
You know, the only non-spoiler thing to even talk about really is Bryce Dallas Howard. Holy shit!
Don't fuck my girlfriend's name up.
Bryce Dallas Howard directed this one. She also did Mandalorian season 1 Sanctuary, and one of the season 2 episodes. I forget which one it was though.
The one
that's ironic.
The one
the heiress. The heiress was the one.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she did the 7 Samurai one. That's Sanctuary. That's that town one.
Yep.
Yeah, and then she did the heiress.
Yeah.
So anyway, good track record going here without spoiling anything. I'm just gonna stop there.
Now we go into spoiler. Let's.
Could you give any commentary on this one without spoiling it? Like, is it possible?
No, not at all. So here, we'll start here. You ready? Welcome to the pilot episode for season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah. or well, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but welcome to episode 5 of the Book of Boba Fett. Now with less Boba Fett.
Yeah. Come help Boba Fett. Roll credits.
Right.
This is the soy milk of Boba Fett.
I'll have an episode 5 of Boba Fett. Hold the Boba Fett.
Yeah. So okay. So spoiler territory. But yeah, I mean, this is crazy. This was basically Mandalorian chapter 17 or whatever. That's 17. That's next, I think. But there was no Boba Fett was literally a one-liner at the very end, and it wasn't even him. It was Shand saying, "Hey, Mandalorian."
He's not in it at all. She's really good at directing episodes of The Mandalorian, which is what she did here.
Yeah. That's why when Eric rattled off what she did, I was like, well, that's ironic.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I kept pausing the episode to see how much longer was left because I'm like, there's still no Boba Fett. Like, what's going on? Why are we doing why a fight? We're putting together the ship. Like, are we gonna get to what's going on here?
I was shocked how much of the Mandalorian we got in this episode, considering what was going on. And we'll get to all of that later, like Heather's commentary or whatever. But even still, all right, well, through the next episode, Heather was like, are we watching Boba Fett? She said, what the hell's going on? And I was like, well, I said, I get it, which ironically I said, I think it's funny how a guy like Boba Fett, who we've joked around, was very popular for nothing, right? Everyone's been waiting for his backstory and this and that, whatever, and they've been doing a really good job of telling it. And now you got this break with this episode, and it's not him at all. I said, I don't know if, obviously it was done on purpose because it's Filoni and Favreau. But I don't know if maybe they just fleshed out every bit of story and they were like, we got to fill this part with something. But at the same time, it's still, because we know from what we've reviewed already, Fett is building some type of crew to go against a syndicate. So it does make sense to kind of show where his crew has been, right? But it was just a lot. It was still a lot.
When
Yeah,
when he walks in and he has to fight the dog guys or whatever those were.
Platoonians.
You want to walk through the very beginning of that, and then we'll get to that part, because like this thing opens up with like a meat packing plant or whatever the fuck it was, right?
Yeah.
And then you literally have, like, when you go to Restaurant Depot, the big plastic sheets that you walk through, and you see Mandalorian armor behind the thing in the silhouette. And when it opens, it's the Mandalorian, and his now iconic theme music hits.
Yeah.
And I will say, as much as I am online, it took me by complete fucking surprise. I was like, oh shit. I was happy. I was like, sweet, here we go.
I thought, at the end of episode 4, chapter 4, they did play the Mando theme song right at the end when they're cutting away from when they're cutting away from Fett in the palace, when he's basically saying we're going to go to war or whatever, and they cut away. They play the Mando theme song.
Muscle could be bought and everything. Yeah. Okay.
So they were hinting at it, but I did not expect that it would literally be 10 seconds into the next episode. Here's Mando, and then actually, who's Boba Fett? It's just Mando.
Yeah, when he busts through and his music hit, I was like, yes, not knowing what I was getting.
Yeah, I mean, so knowing that there's a limited number of episodes in the Boba Fett series, for season 1, maybe there's more, but it seems like it's now a crossover event. It's not the Book of Boba Fett, and
right.
And I'm gonna try not to spoil too much, but you're gonna go watch chapter 6, and you're gonna think the same thing. Like, okay, yeah, they're bringing together everything they can from past shows, maybe even different series. Just it's all coming together for Boba Fett. So I can only imagine that this is gonna culminate in some freaking epic.
I don't hate it though.
Yeah,
I don't hate it.
No, I don't hate it. It's a little weird though, right? This could have been very weird. It could have, I don't know, could have had a different title. I'm not sure what they could have done.
All the way through episode 5, you're like, all right, this is where, because he gets through the fight, right? He's got the dude's head in the bag, and
so let's go ahead and go through what you were going to say earlier. I'm sorry.
So he's in the meatpacking plant, and he goes in, and he's like, I'm here for, and he gives a name. I'm here for so and so. He puts a little marker thing down, and the holographic head pops up. Yeah. And he realizes it's the boss guy.
He's talking to him.
Yeah, and he's like,
that doesn't look anything like me.
Yeah. And he goes, I can take you in alive or cold. He goes, I can take you in warm or cold.
Yeah, his line. Yeah.
And so fight breaks out. Right, he pulls out the darksaber. Slices through the hanging meat and the whatever, and like whoops up some dudes. It manages to cut his, part of his leg. With darksaber.
Yeah, he's not very good with it.
It's very clear it's unwieldy and heavy for him and whatever. But he gets through the fight, takes the guy's head, right, leaves with his bag. And this is where I expected him to, and when he comes out, all the other dog guys that were just sort of workers there.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not here for you. I had a thing with your boss, but there's
a whole bunch of credits in there I don't need,
that I don't have the right to take. So if you would get out of my way, you can go have them, and they let him go. And then I expected, like, I don't know, his cell phone to ring, and you pick it up. It's like, hey, it's Boba Fett. I need your help. All right, I'll be right there.
That's what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
No. So where do we go from there? Go ahead, Eric.
He decapitates the guy. Did you say that?
Yeah.
Puts his head in the bag. Yeah, I thought that was kind of crazy. That was actually pretty brutal for anything Star Wars. Yeah. So obviously Boba Fett's Jango Fett was decapitated, but you see the helmet roll and the kid picks it up. It doesn't even seem like there's a head in it. This was like, no,
Right.
there's a fucking bloody head in this bag.
Yeah. So he brings the head back to the person paying the bounty because
Yeah.
they're going to give him information on where the other Mandalorians are. And at first, whoever he's talking to is like, I have another job for you. Relax. Let's go. And he's like, all about business. Like, nope, I'm done.
Yeah.
I want to go. Give me my information. So she tells him somewhere like deep in the city, in the underground. This is where you find it.
Yeah, and it looks like the ring of a planet, but the cityscape is all sort of in the ring.
Yeah.
And the sun is hitting it. Yeah, which was cool.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
That was really cool. Like the sun was kind of like constantly shifting as this thing was rotating. It's got to play havoc on the sleep cycle. But so he goes down into the deep part of the city and starts following the hidden holograms on the wall until he comes to the Mandalorian insignia and goes in, and that's where he finds the armorer. And I was like, oh shit, here we go. so at that point, I was pretty much all in. Like, as much Mando as they were going to give me, I was going to take. I still didn't realize how much of it was going to be Mando, but I was still like, I was good to go.
Yeah, and you're like, this is great.
Yeah,
but we're watching the Book of Boba Fett. Like,
yeah, right. Yeah, the whole time I'm like, this is awesome, but what the fuck's going on?
Right.
Yeah. So he talks to her, and
she asks him about the dark saber, and she gives him this whole lore backstory. Well, I mean, it's not that long, but gives him the lore backstory. She tells him
the whole thing that happened in like Clone Wars and everything with
rebels with Sabine, and she goes through very quickly explaining the whole backstory for Night of a Thousand Tears, and I think she kind of rolls through all of it, really. So they pretty much.
So if you did not watch all of that animated shit, you're caught up.
I mean, in so much as you can do it in about 5 minutes. I mean, they covered everything that was basically relevant. I mean, and the end result of that is really, whoever wields this, as long as they earned it, could be the ruler of Mandalore. But Mandalore is completely destroyed, and society has collapsed. So it's just us two. Just us two here. You want to rule us? No.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, but then he does say like, well, Bo-Katan thinks she's got a right to it. She wants it, and the armor is like, she didn't earn it. It was given to her.
Yeah, because he goes, what do you know about Bo-Katan? And she tells him the story. Like, she didn't win it in combat either.
So they cover all that shit. So which was cool because
then there's a third dude who's like, where'd you get it? And he's like, I took it off of Moff Gideon.
Yeah, it was Paz Vizsla.
That's Paz Vizsla. Yeah, that's the one that John Favreau was guest voicing.
Yeah, and it was his ancestor who was both Jedi and Mandalorian and made it.
That's right. It was Tara Vizsla, right? I think that was the name.
Yeah, Tara Vizsla.
Tara Vizsla.
Tara Vizsla. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, so he was both Mandalorian and Jedi, and he created that original darksaber.
Yeah. So, before we get to that part, as we're getting to that part, because they're all having like a multiple conversation there, she questions him about the Beskar spear, and he was like, it helped me fight against a lightsaber, and she's like, Beskar should only be used for armor, so they still very. This is the way. This is how we have to do things.
That seemed odd to me, though, right? Like, didn't they make like the Whistler things out of Beskar, and like he's got Beskar weapons, not a spear, but
right, yeah. I thought it was weird too, especially because you would think if you're a sect that has been back and forth with whether or not you're fighting Jedi, that spear is one of the perfect weapons to help fight. But okay, whatever. So she convinces him that it's got to be melted down and made into armor. So
I think it would have been cooler. Sorry to interrupt, but I think it would have been cooler if he just offered it up to do that instead of her having to be like, "Oh, there shouldn't be a weapon like that. Give it to me."
I don't know, because he's a fighter. So why are you going to give up one of your weapons? I kind of agreed with him. But all right, so he gives it up, but he says, she said, "What should it be melted down to?" And he says, it should be made into something for a foundling. And she said, this is the way. And then he says, it should be made for a specific foundling. And I was like, I knew
Make it a real tiny
exactly.
best bar armor for Baby Yoda. Yeah.
Yep. So she kind of stops and looks at him. And it's funny again, because we had this conversation when we watched Mandalorian. Favreau and Filoni do a really good job with, even where half of their characters have a helmet on, they show a good amount of emotion and acting in their thing, like just the way like her body moves and looks at him, like you can see it click in her head what he's talking about, and like she approves of it, but at the same time she's like, he's with his own kind now and whatever, and he's like, I don't care.
You can't have attachments, right? The Jedi way is no attachments.
Right. She tells him all that, and he says that's not our way.
Yeah.
And he's a foundling. So she's like, well, what do you want to do? And he says, I want to make something for Grogu. And she said, what shall I make for Grogu? And then we go on to whatever.
So she starts melting the thing down, and then what seems to come out are like chain link pieces.
Yeah.
Right. That's what sort of hits the ground. And so you're like, is she making them chainmail or like what?
That's
I really
what
had no idea what the fuck she was doing. Yeah.
That's what I assumed right away. As soon as I saw the ring, I'm like, oh shit, that's got our chainmail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she wraps it in a package that actually looks like him. Right?
Yes.
Like she tied it in a way that like it has ears and a little.
It has little ears. Yeah. Like, as soon as she got done, I looked at Heather, and Heather started laughing. I was like, again, like I said, even with the helmet on and everything, that little touch of, I don't know how to explain it. How she understands his attachment to him, and that's like her little approval, or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? Like that's her. Like, yeah, we're making this for him, and here it is. And look, it looks just like him here. And no words are exchanged. She just makes it and bloop, she wraps it in a little neckerchief, and there. It's funny.
And then I think the next scene is her trying to help him learn the Darksaber, right? So they're doing a little bit of practice.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he can't, like, it's heavy for him, and he can't, like, it takes him super effort to raise it and swing it and do whatever, and he's always off balance. And she's trying to,
and she explains to him that you're fighting the saber, it reacts to your emotions, and you have to kind of give into it a little bit, which I knew way back in the day when we were coming up in the original Star Wars trilogy and whatever. The lightsaber there wasn't all of this mythos behind it. It was just a lightsaber was their elegant laser sword that they were able to use, and it was more dignified than a blaster, as Obi-Wan would say, right? But there was none of this other shit to it. Over time, and I don't remember if it was after Disney bought Lucasfilm or right at the same time, but they did start saying how the kyber crystals are kind of alive and they react to each other, which is why, like, when the Sith turn them red is because they break them and make them bleed, right? So there's a whole thing there now. So it makes sense that the Darksaber, it's singular in its existence, right? And it would be heavy, and it takes a lot to wield it and whatever. So it makes sense for what they've been doing with it. I know it wasn't always that same way, but it's kind of cool now. Like they're kind of like working all that into this. So yeah, so he has a hard time with it.
Yeah, this is also a throwback to Rebels. So Kanan teaches Sabine Wren how to wield the Darksaber, and they go through this exact same thing, where he tells her you're fighting it, you're trying to wield the blade, you're not working with it, all this other stuff, and he gives her something about how I don't know, like the emotions or something of the wielder like channel through the kyber crystal or something to that effect. I don't remember exactly what he says.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically the same thing. And Filoni was all over that. So I think he was trying to bring that in.
I think he brought all of that. Yeah, he brought all that lore into it in the animated shit. which I'm like you guys, I'm not really caught up with it, so I gotta go back and watch that, I guess. So all right, yeah. So right in the middle of that, I guess he's starting to learn a little bit. It looks like it's a little bit easier for him. And then Paz Vizsla shows up. And it's like, hey, my great grandpappy made that goddamn thing. Right, so it's a family heirloom and I want it.
Yep.
So he challenges him for it. And basically, so Mando accepts and they fight. It's a decent fight scene too. It's not bad.
It's not bad. But Paz Vizsla is ultimately struggling the same way with the blade, not being able to wield it well. So
yeah, like when in the fight, Paz Vizsla ends up with it, but it seemed harder for him than it even did for Mando.
Yes.
Right, and then he's able to sort of gets a dagger out and right, gets him in the leg once and
picks him apart.
And so ends up like with the knife to his throat, and the armorer was like, "Oh, okay, we're done."
Yeah.
And then she asks Paz Vizsla, "Have you ever taken your helmet off?" "No." "Has anyone ever taken it off?" "No." And then you're like, as you're watching, you're like, "Uh-oh." I remember because I think it's season 1. Is it season 1? Where she goes through these questions for right. She makes him that better suit, right, from the Beskar he gets from turning in Grogu initially, and then he goes and rescues him. But because she asked him that then, and you're like, uh-oh. So she asked him, "Have you ever taken your helmet off? Has it ever been taken off?" He's like, yeah, just this one time.
You're right.
But I didn't mean it, and I'm super sorry.
I'm super sorry.
And she's like, "Nope, you're out."
Yeah, it's like a very like I don't know, deep religious thing, or at least that's how they're portraying it, right? Because she's like, what? Oh, this is the way. You're gone. You're no longer part of this clique.
Yeah, they're of that sect, right? Where it's super. They're much more orthodox than Bo-Katan, right? Who takes it off all the time, and the others that were with her. So yes, because even Paz Vizsla calls him an apostate. Right. So it's deeply religious, and so he's out.
Yeah, it's crazy. Although she does give him a potential reprieve, but it's something that seems impossible because she tells him something to the effect of, you go bathe yourself in the waters under the caverns and
the vines of
whatever the fuck it was in Mandalore, but he's like, yeah, but it was all blown up. She's like, this is the way.
Gotta go do it.
So I don't know if he'll get to that, but it's funny because it's almost like, now I don't think that came from any previous lore that I know of, but maybe it did. But it's funny because it's like, it's very much feels like a sort of baptism rebirth thing, right? Like, oh, you must go cleanse your body and your soul.
Yeah.
Only
almost
then
like a born
back.
Christian.
I mean, I'm not sure if he's gonna want to. I'm curious if he's even gonna try.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because he's been exposed to Bo-Katan and her whole sect, where removing a helmet was not like, you guys are zealots. It's a little,
Yeah, she was like,
we had that conversation before where he's only known that one, but he's starting to learn others. So yeah, he may not.
Yeah.
But still, in the end, he may be the one that unites them all and be like, this is the new way.
By the way, I really like, I don't know why I know why this thought came in my head, but it's not entirely on topic, but I like the way that, Favreau or Filoni or whoever the hell is responsible has taken these peoples, whatever you want to call them, like Mandalorians, like Tuskens, that you assumed were like homogenous and that they all had the same culture and society and whatever. But then there's these conflicts that arise where you're like, oh, well, that's different than that. Those Mandos take off their helmet. And at first people were like, well, you're not following the rules you said or whatever. But really they've taken it and like expanded it. And realistically, right? I mean, Mandalore's a fucking planet. There would have been tens, millions, I don't know, hundreds of
Right.
millions
Yeah.
of Mandalorians, right? So, and same with the Tuskens. There's tens of thousands of Tuskens. So to have
Yeah.
all these like different cultures within, and to build it
Yes.
that way, to say nothing here was contradicting. You're just seeing different groups of people, different sects, different religions, whatever, at different times in the
Right.
stories.
Yeah, he
Right.
does a really good job of explaining the contradictions in a good way, and at the same time humanizing all of it.
Yeah.
You're like, look, it's just different sects of the same overall religion, just kind of like broken down. And it, again, if you take it and you go back to Earth religions, kind of the same thing. You know, you get like the overall whatever, and then everything's kind of broken down. Like, yeah, well, you know, we believe this up to this point, and then you know,
Not every Jewish person is super Orthodox or Hasidic.
right,
Right. Not every
Yeah.
Christian is
You know-
super conservative.
right.
300 people drank Kool-Aid to go to the mothership. I mean, you know, there are all kinds of tiny little
All
sects.
kinds of- yeah, like to the Jews and the Christians, like, you know, you got the Christians who, okay, or the Catholics, you know, Jesus, son of God, whatever. And then the Jews are like, no, there was a Jesus, but he was a prophet. He wasn't, you know. So there's those different, but it's still the same overall story. So he does that. He works it really well into these shows. It's really cool.
All right, so where the hell are we? So he's
So
at,
man,
I don't know.
Mando's got a dip, and to do it, because he doesn't have a ship anymore, he's got to fly commercial.
oh yeah, I really like this hilarity of like it was almost TSA like or something, but then they made
Yeah,
a
he's
joke
got
out
to
of
take
it.
Spirit Airlines.
Yeah,
so
like,
he's got to fly, and he gets to the metal detector, and they're like, weapons. And then he's doing this thing where like weapons come out of every part of him, right?
Yeah.
And then so he gets the claim check, I guess, for all the stuff in the giant suitcase he puts all the stuff. And I half expected, although I think I would have been disappointed if like he opened it up and the Darksaber was gone.
Right. Yeah, I would have been mad, but I love how like he threatened the droid. He's like, I know everything in there, and the droid's like, okay, you know.
But he puts like the whistler and the blaster and the thing and the Darksaber and the 12 knives and whatever.
And he holds the Darksaber for a second, like fuck, you know, like okay. Yeah. So he does it, and he flies, and and then he's still like, just like we said, commercial. They do the entire commercial flight trope of there's a little Rhodian in front of him,
That's it, right?
waving
I call
at
him
him.
Baby Greedo, yeah.
Yeah, a little baby burrito. And the mother's like, no, don't talk to him. You don't fucking know him.
And he's just sitting there admiring the Grogu looking package of
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he lands, ironically gets all his shit back. You know, TSA didn't fuck up on this planet. So his package didn't get kicked around or nothing.
right.
So he gets it all back, and
You know what would have been really funny if he had been in like a baggage claim and like it had
Oh
to
my
come down
God.
on a thing. Like that would have been awesome.
that would have been amazing.
that would have been really funny.
That would have been fucking funny. All right, so he lands on Tatooine and gets his shit back. And then I didn't see any kind of Easter eggs in that part. So, but then
Wait, what?
go ahead.
Did you say gets his shit back?
No, he said shit.
Shit back.
Oh, gets his
shit.
shit back. Oh, I'm sorry. I was
No,
like,
his
what the
ship
fuck?
is
What
in
were you
the-
watching? Okay, go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
Shit
Sorry.
back. And he goes off to speak to what's her face? Pelly.
Pelimoto, yeah.
Yeah,
Carlos.
Pelimoto.
Carlos
Uh,
Mencia.
Yeah. Which again, she had a very small, brief cameo earlier in the series, walking by on Tatooine, which is cool. Nice little nod. So like they're all just kind of there, right? So he shows up and she's hunting a giant rat, basically,
Right.
who like likes to eat droids. So much weird shit going on in this show. They lean into letting her do her comedic thing and whatever, and it was fine. It was getting old there for a second, but he shows up, helps her kill it, and tells her, you know, I need you told me you found a replacement for my Razor Crest, and she's like, I did. And she goes over, she's like, feast your eyes on this. And she pulls the tarp back, and it's a beat up, junked up Naboo starfighter. And
even before then, when the cover's on it, you're looking at it, and it's like small. It's small.
Yeah, it looks like it'd be like a freaking hot rod car or something. It's so tiny.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I was wondering what the fuck she was gonna show him, right? But when she pulls it off, it's still got like the gold and tan colors. It's Anakin's fucking Naboo starfighter.
I don't know if it's Anakin's, but it is a Naboo in-one starfighter. Yeah.
No, that's Anakin's.
You think it's Anakin's for sure?
I think it's Anakin's. Yes. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying it yet. But you know what? There's another cameo.
They tie everything in, Eric. Come on.
That's true. And there is another cameo in here that you guys may not even be aware of. That stupid little droid, the little two-legged droid, looks like a little walker, but it's super tiny.
Yeah.
BD, they called it.
Mm-hmm.
That is actually from the Star Wars Fallen Order video game. It's the sidekick. It's the sidekick to Cal Kestis, who's the Padawan main character. That follows you control his story after Order 66 was executed and he went into hiding. So I don't know. Again, that could be a different BD-1 droid, but it's funny that they threw it in here.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, they do all those little nods. And we'll get more into that later too. So I'm convinced this is Anakin's fucking ship, but whatever. It could be whatever. But it's a Naboo starfighter on Tatooine. Anakin flew that exact fucking colored ship, and it's on Tatooine. So whatever. So she's like, no, it needs a little bit of work. And he looks at her like, well, you out of your fucking mind? She's like,
I asked you for a Razor Crest. I didn't ask for this.
Yeah. And she's like, look, it can go into hyperspace on its own. Doesn't need whatever she calls it, the booster ring or whatever. It goes by itself. You're going to love it. So he's like, all right, whatever. And she starts like, all I got to do is fix some shit here. And it'd help out a lot if you just help, and hands him a wrench. So they go this whole montage into fixing this fucking thing.
Yeah, the montage is pretty fun. Like, and then a couple of Jawas show up with a part or something like that. And she's like, weird little guy. She goes, and then she just throws in like, I dated a Jawa once. Very hairy.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
Yeah,
that was really bizarre. Also, we now know for sure they're furry underneath, which I was never positive.
Yeah. She speaks Jawa, and he's like, how did you do that? And she's like, oh, I dated a Jawa once. And she's like,
very hairy. So fucking weird.
Yeah. And then he's like, she sends him to go get stuff, and they come back like just a few minutes later, and he's like, you can do that? And she's like, yeah.
Like some of the comedy in overall between Mandalorian and this, when it comes to like, because they do love to shove like stand-up comedians into this show, but some of it kind of seems a little bit forced here and there. Like some of her scenes seemed a little forced, like giving her more time than you really needed. But at the same time, I mean, it works. It works okay. Mm-hmm. But I was like, yes, some of her jokes, I was like, can we get on? Can we go?
Well, this is the part where I'm like, okay, why are we still doing this? Where's the Boba Fett? There's not much left in the show. What are we doing?
Did you guys catch the Easter egg when the Jawas were bringing the parts?
No.
Yeah, at one point, 2 Jawas come in carrying a long ass, weird looking rod, and they say it's something. I don't remember what the hell they call it, but that's the same rod that was in the first season of Mandalorian, where it was leaned against the wall when he was walking down the alley, which is the same rod that was in the trash compactor in the original series. Okay. They like keep reusing the part.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I missed that completely. That's nice.
Yeah, they come in like 2 Jawas are carrying it like this, like it's all heavy, and I can't remember what the hell they called it. It had some weird ass name, like a discombobulator or something. But like, oh, okay.
All right, nice.
I thought that was funny.
That's cool.
So they fix his ship up, and
then they shine it, and somehow they polish it like to a sheen, like just like his armor.
Yeah.
Knock a lot, most of the paint off, but they left like a tiny bit of yellow. I don't know why.
Yeah, Yeah, you got to leave some of the classic on it, I guess.
I thought they should have done it like full on metallic shiny, like his armor. That would have been the right look, right?
Yeah. Well, the part that I thought was funny though was she was like, "You want to give it a run?" He gets in this thing, and at first he was like, "What happened to the droid thing?" And she's like, "Oh, I modified it for Grogu." Right?
Right. Yeah. That's the first thing I thought too. When she said she
Yeah.
pulled out the droid port, but the thing is still there with the glass top. I'm like, yeah, Grogu's gonna be in there.
Yeah.
At some point, Grogu's going.
Grogu. She knew. So, because she asked him where he is, and he's like, he's with his own kind. And she's like, "Oh man,
Yeah.
But when he goes to start this thing, it's got like an exposed fucking engine, like an old like 60s race street race car, right?
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck are they doing? Yeah, it's got the blower on the top, right? I was like, what the fuck are they doing? And it starts just like one. That thing is fucking rattling like a goddamn like 65 Chevy or some shit.
It actually reminded me a ton of a pod racer, the way that they did that from like Phantom Menace, like when he starts up the pod racer and it's like it's like it reminded me a lot of that, which is ironic from the scene that's coming up too. But can we talk about his ship for a minute? Because I have a thought about where this is leading, because Naboo in one starfighter is way impractical for the Mandalorian, who has to go hunt bounties and bring back people in carbonite. And
I thought that too, because I was like, where's he gonna put, how's he gonna get somebody? Where's he gonna put them?
Where's he even gonna put his weapons? Like in the freaking Razor Crest, he had a whole goddamn cabinet full of weapons.
I thought that too. I'm like, okay, like you said, like he's gonna go bounty hunting. I can bring you in warm or cold. He's gonna have a bunch of little carbonite slabs underneath the ship as he's flying through hyperspace.
So I got a couple thoughts here. I mean, they've set this up so that this ship is super, super duper fast, right? Like way faster than any Naboo in1 that existed before, but also just generally insanely fast. And it can jump into hyperspace with no ring dock or anything like that, right? So he's able to do, long distance jumps with it and stuff now. But what I really think this is probably leading to is there's no way we're getting through a series from Star Wars, Boba Fett now, but any of them, without fucking space battle. And it's too perfect to have Slave One get in a firefight or something.
Fire spray, whatever the fuck it is.
Slave One, a fire spray called Slave One. Out in a battle or something where he's maybe losing, and fucking Din Djarin jumps in out of nowhere and fucking wrecks some shit. That's what I think is coming. And I'm hoping at some point he gets something Razor Crest like, but bigger, where he can like nestle the Naboo in1 into the bay.
Yes, that's what I was about to say. He needs a ship a little bit bigger than the Razor Crest, where he can use a starfighter when he needs it, but has a spot for all his shit.
I think that'd be really cool. I hope they're doing that.
Maybe that'll come in season 3.
That'd be cool.
Or we'll get a lot more Boba Fett. One or the other.
Yeah, that's what it'll be. Season 3 of The Mandalorian will be like 6 episodes of Boba Fett.
All Boba Fett.
So he finally takes this thing out.
We're going to get to that because I have a theory, but we're going to get to that part too. But go ahead.
So he finally takes this thing out for a spin, right? Fast as fuck. But I love how they did this, because when he leaves Pelimoto's dock and goes out flying, he like immediately goes to Beggar's Canyon, where they did the race in the Phantom Menace. And he's even going through the exact same stuff that they did in the Phantom Menace with the pod race. He's got to like cut sideways through Beggar's Canyon around the corner. I love how they did that. It was all sort of like a very perfect throwback. And I thought when he started it up, I said like it reminded me of a pod racer, and they did this. I'm like, oh shit, I know exactly what's coming here. He's gonna be rolling corners and stuff.
Well, that was a nice nod too when she said, you're gonna come up on Beggar's Canyon. That's Luke, right? Like he used to fly around Beggar's Canyon all the time, so it was another nice
shoot womp rats, which is what grabbed Pelimoto's droid, and then it's like there's foreshadowing coming for something.
Oh, I don't know what.
So then I think after all that flying through shit, he flies up into space, right? Starts doing some shit like around the edge of a commercial starliner.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, two
Gets
X-wing
pulled over.
pilots roll up like the police on the side of them.
Ironically, pulls up alongside the cruise liner, and who's in the cruise liner looking at him that he waves to, but the same fucking
Yeah, the little Greedo,
Cody,
Little,
the baby Greedo.
yeah.
baby Greedo. Well, and then one of the more foreshadowing here. One of the pilots is the Carson or whatever from Mandalorian season 2, the passenger episode or whatever, and and Mando, whatever, blew up that one base and spared them trouble. I don't know. I don't remember exactly how it rolled out, but
Basically the first one is asking him for all his info, and he's like, sorry, I just rebuilt this thing, I don't have it all, whatever. And that guy chimes in, says, your voice sounds really familiar.
Yeah, weren't you that guy?
He's like, were you over there? And he's like, I'm not sure what you talked about. He's like, why don't we just kind of pull over for a second? And then Mando's like, fuck this. Bang.
Yeah.
Hits a hyperdrive, just fucking takes off. And they're like, what the hell just happened? And the younger guy's like, do we call this in? Do we do it? And the older one that knows him,
go back and spend all day filling out paperwork. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, if you want to go back and spend all day filling out paperwork, then sure.
Like
Yeah.
we said this in one of the episodes last year of season 2. They've become the cops, right?
Yeah.
They're definitely the cops.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
certainly seems like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense, but it was funny. They're the cops, but they're only really used for comedic effect, really. So, but it was nice to kind of like see him pop in there for a scene, and then we're done.
Yeah.
So he flies back.
Well, so hold on. There's one more interesting thing in this. The other X-wing pilot, the kid, the rookie,
The young guy.
Yeah.
that is the actor that played Hamill at the end of Mandalorian. That they CGI'd Hamill's face.
is that
over.
right?
Yes.
Really? Oh, nice.
More foreshadowing.
Maybe.
They're like, we didn't show your face last time. We de-aged Mark Hamill's face on yours, so you get to be in this episode. Congratulations.
I think if you have the guy around now, it's because you're going to show Hamill again. They didn't just keep him from Mandalorian season 2 and film Boba Fett stuff. I wouldn't think. Maybe they did. I guess they would have done it with Pedro Pascal. But
At this point, nobody knows what we're gonna do with this show, except for those of us who have watched everything. All right, so he goes back to Tatooine, and Pele's like, "Well, what'd I tell you?" And he's like, "Yeah, all right, it'll work." And I think this is the end of the episode, right?
yeah, so he's somebody shows up at the compound, and Pelimoto tells the droids to send them away. Right, and Peli tells
when he lands the new starfighter. Yeah, she's like, somebody was here, but I sent them away. I had the droid send them away.
Yeah.
And then he's walking out in the Bay Area or whatever, and Fennec Shan drops down over the wall or something.
Yeah, because he's like, well, she says, somebody came here looking for you. I had the droid send him away, and he's like, who? And then she drops down and says, Boba Fett needs your help. And he looks at her, and then it doesn't cut off right there, right? They have a quick little conversation. She just says, Boba Fett needs your help, and tosses him a bunch of credits.
Yep.
And he looks at her for a second, and then tosses him back and says, tell him it's on the house. And you're like, oh, here we go. We're building the crew.
Yep.
So yeah. So that is your only tie to Boba Fett this entire goddamn episode.
Yep.
Now, I've read online, and I don't completely disagree with it.
Well, hey, there's one more thing.
Go ahead.
The very last line, when he throws her back the money and said it's on the house, he says to her, but first, I got to pay a visit to a little friend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yes. So I read online, and I don't completely disagree with this. There was a headline, and it said, The Mandalorian makes the best episode of Boba Fett yet. And I was like, I've loved the Boba Fett show so far, right? Like I've enjoyed what they've been doing with it, but they're not 100% wrong either. Like this was a really good fucking episode.
Yeah,
It had nothing to do with Boba Fett, but so while we were joking about how this is a great pilot for the next season of Mando, that's what it is. It's an amazing fucking episode that has everything to do with Mandalorian and nothing except for the end to do with Boba Fett.
And so take this contrasted to episode 3 that has a ton of Boba Fett, but it's awful, is objectively bad. Like the speed that things are shot are bad, the Vespa kids are bad, the fight scene, even the fight scene with Chrysanthemum's bad, like none of it's good.
No, none of it at all.
4 is better, and then 5 has nothing to do with Boba. It's just weird. It's like a weird pacing of a show.
Yeah,
it's very strange.
Just in case you forget why you fell back in love with Star Wars, let's remind you. And that's what this was. That's all this was here. Everything you loved about Star Wars for the last 2 years, we're gonna give it to you.
You know, I think there's some risk with the way they do it with the director swapping. I think for Mandalorian, it was somewhat noticeable in a few episodes, but it wasn't like a big contrast. There's a big contrast between Bryce Dallas Howard and Robert Rodriguez, like huge.
Yes.
Right.
And you can really tell it in this series.
And like the Vespa kids thing, like that screamed Robert Rodriguez to me. That's Power Ranger kind of like, there's influences there, you know. Even the thing where Mando first puts on his armor, I think that was in the very first episode that Robert Rodriguez did. He does it like in this Spy Kids sort of suit up manner thing. It's like you can see the director a lot more in this than I feel like you could in The Mandalorian, and it's noticeable. Yeah. And hopefully it mellows out or gets a little more level, or they get a different director, because I'm just not loving what Robert
I'm not loving Rodriguez in this series. That's the thing.
Yeah,
but outside of that, I'm really loving this series. Other than that,
yeah, I mean, I don't think any of them are awful episodes, but I mean, there's definitely like sort of peaks and lulls in the goodness, and there are things that just make me scratch my head sometimes.
I think there was more bad than good in episode 3.
Oh yeah,
yes,
I'm with you.
So.
I'm with you. But yeah, overall though, it's still good. I mean, it really is becoming a crossover. I mean, I feel like I almost wonder if all the muscle at the end. I imagine like episode, whatever it is, 9 and 10. There's 10 in this. I can't even remember.
I think there's only 7.
There was only 6.
6.
Oh, is there 7?
There's 7 because we're reviewing 5. We have to do 6 that we all watched. And then, there's one more, which is what I was going to get into.
Well, so I have to wonder if the big bad fight scene at the end isn't going to be like a complete crossover. They're going to have Boba Fett. They're going to have Chrysanthemum. Maybe Bo-Katan shows up. Mandalorian. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ahsoka Tano or Luke Skywalker by the end of it. And to have Grogu back. I feel like they're just putting it all together. And then Danny Trejo is going to be there with a fucking Rancor. Not that that's a crossover from Return of the Jedi or something meets Machete, but I feel like they're going to bring it all together, all these different characters like that. And I'm kind of hoping, because I don't think they ever showed it, but did the warrior Tusken die?
Yeah, they all died.
You assume they all died.
We assume they all died, but did they show a body? Like they did show us some bodies. He dwelled over, like the kid was dead for sure. Like, but did the warrior person die? Because
you're right. You never see a body, so to have at least one of the Tuskens survive and at least be the warrior,
this could be pretty cool, right? You got the Gamorrean guards from original series. Hell, this could be cool as fuck.
They have to do a thing where they all stand in the line, right? Like it's Boba Fett, Mando, Stanton, Tusken warrior, Gamorrean guards, Grogu.
And we got to bring back Cobb Vanth from Mandalorian, the sheriff, right? All of them.
Bring back Bill Burr. Bill Burr.
Oh my God, Bill Burr's got to come back. Yes.
Just bring them all back.
Okay, so before we get into spoilers for the next episode that we've all seen, right?
You haven't seen.
Okay, you haven't seen it. All right. So before we get into any kind of spoilers for that shit, just going off of this episode and knowing what they did here, you have 2 episodes left. You're building a crew to fight the syndicate, right? How much of this fight are you actually going to get into? Because you would think that like that whole fight would be like a good amount. Is it going to be season 2? Like, are they going to build the crew and then jump into season 2 with the fight? Or because we're crossing over, is that going to be part of season 3 of The Mandalorian?
I don't know.
I don't know either way.
I feel like they've done themselves an injustice if there's not a big ass battle next episode. If that's the last one, they have to do something. And maybe it's just the Pike Syndicate that they fight and beat, and then the end reveal after it's all done is like, oh, it wasn't really the Pike Syndicate. You know, the Shadow Collective is behind this, or something.
That's what I was going to say too. Like, who's controlling the Pikes? What if it's what's her face from Game of Thrones that was in Rogue One?
Yeah, you're talking about Crimson Dawn, the Crimson Dawn.
Right. Yeah. What is the Crimson Dawn?
Which they potentially given us some foreshadowing little hints. There was stupid shit like the lights in the mayor's office were shaped like the Crimson Dawn symbol. I like maybe they're setting shit up.
There's got to be something in the syndicate too.
We still need the trope of where like Boba Fett goes to all of the dudes that he wants, and they're doing their thing, and he's like, "I need you. I need right." Like,
yeah.
But it can't be Emilia Clarke though, because she would be like 70 now. I mean, think about it. She was the same age as Han Solo. So
yeah. Okay.
But I mean, it could still be that organization. And Paul Betts is dead, right? So it can't be him.
Yeah, and I mean, Darth Maul's dead.
Darth Maul is definitely dead, but it's still the Crimson Dawn or the remnants of the Shadow Collective could exist as another sect of Mandalorians, maybe. Like, there's people that aren't dead from like the cartoon stuff, like Sabine Wren, her mother. I'm pretty sure Ursa Wren is not dead. In my opinion, could be the armor. Rook Kast was one of the other Mandalorians that was supporting Maul. There's lots of
Bo-Katan running around out there.
Yeah, there's still lots of options where they could sort of insert a bigger bad than what they fight in episode 7, right? That's just, they give us the big space battle. They give us some sort of hand-to-hand combat scene with everybody fighting on the ground. They win, great. And then they realize, they uncover something. It's like, oh, this is just the beginning. This is just the start. This is why the Hutts wanted to fucking leave. It wasn't the Pike Syndicate,
Yeah, okay. I can see that. Because as I just thought they were running out of time to get to what they wanted to get to. But yeah, to give us like a small battle to lead into something else for season 2, that'd be cool.
Or Mando. I mean, they can pick it up anywhere, I suppose.
Well, I mean,
apparently the title of the series is irrelevant to the characters in it. So.
Right, yeah. They're just going to bounce back and forth now. After this one, all bets are off. All right, sweet. So, anybody got anything else for this episode? All right, awesome episode. I loved it. Can't wait to have Paul catch up on the next episode. Let us know, with 50% more Boba Fett. No.
It could be twice as much. 0 times 2 is still 0.
Yeah, well, you're right. We will discuss that next week, Paul, when you're ready to go.
All right.
Maybe since we record on Thursdays mostly, the 3 of us will try to make sure we watch the final episode. We'll just wrap up the series next week. Because that way, at least we're kind of relevant, somewhat. We'll vaguely try. And then we'll throw in a Geekly Weekly somewhere in there. I'm sure there's a lot in there to talk about. All right, cool. So let us know what you thought of episode 5 of the Book of Mandalorian. And hit us up at whatifgeeks.com, whatifgeeks@gmail.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And we will see you next week when we hopefully try to wrap up this series and see if we're going to have a season 2. Good night, Tony.
Good night, Boba Fett. You're great in this episode. Oh, wait.
Good night, headless Klatooinian crime boss.
Forever.
Forever.
Forever.